Chapter 1. A Simple Life. Once upon a time, in a small rural village in ancient China, old man Li and his son, Jun, lived simple lives. The village, nestled among lush fields and breathtaking mountains, was a peaceful haven where everyone worked the land and enjoyed the natural beauty around them. In the heart of the village, old man Li Engin's small wooden house stood with its thatched roof, surrounded by fertile fields ready for planting. Each morning, as the sun's rays touched the dewy grass, old man Li Engin would rise and begin their daily chores. Old man Li was a wise, gentle man with a long, white beard that flowed like a waterfall down his chest. Despite his age, he had bright, twinkling eyes that seemed to see the world's hidden secrets. Jun, on the other hand, was a young, energetic boy, eager to learn from his father and help out in any way he could. One day, as they tended to their fields, old man Li took a break from his work, wiping the sweat from his brow. He looked at Jun and said,
"My son, remember, life is like these fields. Sometimes it may seem barren and difficult, but with patience, care, and a positive attitude, it will bloom and bear fruit."
Jun listened attentively, absorbing his father's wisdom.
"Yes, Father.
He replied,
I will always try to see the good in everything, just as you do."
As they continued their work, the other villagers went about their daily lives. Children played by the river, women washed clothes, and men worked in the fields or crafted tools for the village. It was a close-knit community where everyone knew one another and supported each other through thick and thin. One evening, as the sun began to set, old man Li Engin sat on the porch of their house, enjoying a steaming bowl of rice and vegetables. They watched the villagers return to their homes, with laughter and cheerful conversations echoing through the village.
"Father,
Jun asked,
how do you always remain so calm and wise, even when things don't go as planned?"
Old man Li smiled at his son, his eyes filled with warmth.
"John,
He replied,
the secret lies in understanding that life is full of surprises. Some may seem good, some may seem bad, but in the end, all is well. It is up to us to find the silver lining in every situation."
Jun nodded, taking his father's words to heart. Together, they enjoyed the peaceful evening, ready to face whatever life had in store for them. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the village settled into a serene slumber, the stage set for the events that would soon unfold and test the wisdom of old man Li and the resilience of Jun. Chapter 2. The Escape. One bright morning, as old man Li and Jun prepared for another day of work in the fields, they noticed something amiss. Their only horse, a strong and loyal creature named Bao, was missing from his stable. The wooden gate had been left unlatched, allowing Bao to wander off during the night. Jun's eyes filled with concern as he turned to his father.
"Father, Bao is gone. How will we plow our fields without him?"
Old man Li, however, remained calm. He placed a reassuring hand on Jun's shoulder and said,
"Do not worry, my son. All is well. Who knows if it is good or bad?"
Together, they set out to search for Bao. As they walked through the village, they informed their neighbors of Bao's disappearance. The villagers offered their sympathy and joined in the search, scouring the surrounding fields and forests for any sign of the missing horse. Despite their best efforts, they could not find Bao. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the village. Tired and disheartened, the villagers returned to their homes, leaving Old Man Li and John standing alone in the fading light.
Father,
Said John, his voice trembling.
what will we do now? We have no horse to help us with our work, and our fields will suffer.
Old Man Li looked at his son with a gentle smile.
John, remember what I told you before. All is well. Who knows if it is good or bad? Sometimes, when things seem dark and uncertain, the world has a way of surprising us.
The villagers, overhearing Old Man Li's words, shook their heads in disbelief. They couldn't understand how he could remain so calm and optimistic in the face of such misfortune. As the days went by, Old Man Li and John continued their work in the fields, doing their best without the help of Bao. Their neighbors often stopped by to lend a hand or offer words of encouragement, but they couldn't help but feel pity for the father and son. One evening, while Old Man Li and John sat on their porch, they noticed a cloud of dust rising in the distance. As it drew closer, they saw a group of wild horses galloping toward the village, with Bao leading the way. The villagers gathered to witness the unexpected turn of events, their eyes wide with astonishment. They congratulated Old Man Li and John on their newfound fortune, exclaiming,
"You are so lucky. Now you have not just one, but many horses to help you with your work."
But Old Man Li simply smiled, his eyes twinkling with wisdom.
All is well. Who knows if it is good or bad? Remember, my friends, life is full of surprises, and things are not always as they seem.
As the villagers looked on in wonder, they couldn't help but marvel at the serenity of Old Man Li in the face of uncertainty, a lesson they would soon come to appreciate even more. Chapter 3: A Herd of Horses. With Bao and the wild horses now grazing in a makeshift enclosure near Old Man Li's home, the villagers couldn't help but marvel at the father and son's incredible luck. They gathered around the fence, excitedly chattering about this sudden turn of events.
"Old Man Li, you are truly blessed."
One villager exclaimed.
"These wild horses will surely bring prosperity to your family."
Old Man Li smiled kindly at the enthusiastic villager.
Thank you, my friend. But remember, all is well. Who knows if it is good or bad? Life is unpredictable, and we must always be prepared for whatever it brings.
Meanwhile, Jen observed the wild horses with fascination, noting their strength and beauty. He felt a sense of excitement and responsibility, knowing that taming these horses could greatly benefit his family and the village. One day, as John approached the enclosure, he shared his thoughts with his father.
Father, I believe I can tame these horses. With their help, we can plow our fields faster and assist our neighbors in their work. Our village will prosper.
Old Man Li nodded thoughtfully.
It is a noble goal, John. But remember, be patient and cautious. These horses are wild and untamed, and we must approach them with respect and understanding.
John agreed, and over the next few days he began the process of taming the horses. The villagers watched in awe as he slowly gained their trust, feeding them, grooming them, and eventually leading them around the enclosure. As the days went by, John became more and more confident in his abilities. He decided it was time to attempt to ride one of the wild horses. Selecting the strongest and most spirited horse, he approached it with determination.
Today is the day, Father.
John declared.
I will ride this horse and show the village that we can work together with these magnificent creatures.
Old Man Lee looked at his son with a mix of pride and concern.
Be careful, John. Remember, all is well. Who knows if it is good or bad? Trust in yourself, but also trust in the wisdom of the horse.
With the entire village watching, John carefully mounted the wild horse. At first, it seemed as if he had succeeded. The horse stood still, allowing him to sit atop its back. But suddenly, it reared up, bucking and kicking wildly in an attempt to unseat its rider. John clung to the horse, doing his best to calm the frightened animal. But in a swift, unexpected movement, the horse threw him off, sending him crashing to the ground. The villagers gasped in horror as they saw John lying motionless, his leg twisted at an unnatural angle. Old Man Lee rushed to his son's side, concern etched on his face. He gently cradled John in his arms, checking for any other injuries. The villagers gathered around, offering their help and expressing their pity for the unfortunate accident. As they carried John back to their home, Old Man Lee's voice remained steady and calm.
All is well. Who knows if it is good or bad?
He repeated, though his eyes betrayed a deep worry for his son's well-being. The villagers couldn't help but wonder at Old Man Lee's unwavering serenity even in the face of such adversity. And as they returned to their own homes, they couldn't shake the feeling that there was still much to learn from the wise old man. Chapter 4: A Broken Leg. As word spread of John's accident, the villagers came to visit, bringing food, medicine, and kind words. May, a kind-hearted girl from a neighboring farm, arrived at Old Man Lee's home with a basket of fresh herbs to help soothe John's pain.
Thank you, May.
Old Man Lee said gratefully.
Your kindness is a gift to us all.
As the days went by, John's leg began to heal, but the pain was still intense, and he struggled to adjust to his newfound immobility. He felt a deep sense of guilt for his impulsive actions and worried that he had brought misfortune upon his family.
Father, I am sorry.
John said one day, tears welling up in his eyes.
I should have been more careful. Now I cannot help you in the fields, and our family will suffer.
Old Man Lee sat down next to his son, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder.
John, remember what I always say, all is well. Who knows if it is good or bad? Life is full of twists and turns, and we must learn to accept them with grace.
The villagers, too, couldn't help but discuss John's accident.
What a terrible turn of events,
said one.
Just when they had such good fortune with the wild horses, John goes and breaks his leg.
Another villager nodded in agreement.
Old Man Lee's words seemed to ring true. Who knows if something is good or bad? Life can change in an instant.
As John continued to recover, he spent his days watching his father work tirelessly in the fields. Old Man Lee's unwavering determination inspired him to look for ways to contribute despite his injury. He began carving intricate woodwork to sell at the market, using his artistic talents to support his family. One day, as Old Man Lee returned from the fields, he found John deep in concentration, working on a beautiful wooden sculpture.
Father, look.
John said proudly.
I may not be able to work in the fields right now, but I can still help our family in other ways.
Old Man Lee's eyes shone with pride as he admired his son's handiwork.
John, You have learned an important lesson. Life may present us with challenges, but it also gives us opportunities to grow and adapt. Your resilience is a testament to the strength of your spirit.
Just as the villagers had grown accustomed to the rhythm of their lives with the wild horses and Jun's injury, news arrived that a neighboring kingdom had started a war. Fear and uncertainty swept through the village as they prepared for the inevitable conscription of their young men. As the village braced for the impending conflict, Old Man Li's words echoed in their minds.
All is well. Who knows if it is good or bad?
And as they faced the challenges ahead, they began to understand that the wisdom of Old Man Li's philosophy extended far beyond the simple life they had known. Chapter 5: The Onset of War. The news of the war brought fear and anxiety to the village, as families prepared to say goodbye to their sons and brothers who were to be forcibly conscripted into the army. Mothers wept, and fathers gave solemn advice to their young men, hoping they would return home safely. Jun, still recovering from his broken leg, watched in sadness as his friends and fellow villagers gathered at the center of the village. The village elder addressed the young men with a heavy heart, reminding them of the importance of courage and unity in the face of adversity.
Stay strong, my sons.
He said, his voice trembling with emotion.
Protect each other and never forget the love and strength of your village.
As the young men prepared to depart, Jun's best friend, Feng, approached him, concern etched on his face.
Jun, I wish you could come with us. I'm scared. Feng admitted.
Jun looked into his friend's eyes, remembering Old Man Li's words.
Feng, all is well. Who knows if it is good or bad? Be brave, my friend. I believe in you.
Feng nodded, tears streaming down his face, and embraced Jun before joining the others as they marched away from the village, leaving behind tearful families and an uncertain future. As the weeks turned into months, the war raged on, and the villagers received devastating news of the battles and the loss of many young lives. Old Man Li continued to work the fields, and Jun, now able to walk with a slight limp, returned to help his father. The village was solemn, but Old Man Li's quiet strength and wisdom provided a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. When the villagers gathered to share news and memories of their fallen sons, Old Man Li would remind them.
All is well. Who knows if it is good or bad? We must remain strong and support one another.
One day, as Jun and Old Man Li worked side by side in the fields, Jun asked,
Father, do you truly believe that good can come from such terrible events? How can we find peace when so many of our friends are gone?
Old Man Li paused, leaning on his hoe.
John, life is filled with both joy and sorrow. We cannot always understand why things happen, but we can choose how we respond to them. We must focus on the love we share and the memories of those we have lost. In doing so, we honor their sacrifice and find the strength to carry on.
As the war continued, the village took solace in Old Man Li's words, drawing strength from his wisdom and the bonds they shared with one another. Chapter 6: Lessons in Resilience. As the war continued, the villagers faced their own battles. Crops suffered from drought, and many families struggled to make ends meet. The village's spirit, once vibrant and full of life, now seemed as fragile as the leaves that fell from the trees. Old Man Li, sensing the villagers' growing despair, decided to hold a gathering in the village square. With John by his side, he addressed the crowd, his voice steady and full of wisdom.
My dear friends, we have faced many hardships together. It is in times like these that we must remember the power of resilience and the importance of maintaining a positive attitude.
John, standing beside his father, nodded in agreement. He shared his own story of overcoming adversity, recounting the day he broke his leg and how his father's wisdom had helped him cope with the pain and frustration.
My father's words have guided me through the darkest times, and I am grateful for the lessons I have learned. Although I was spared from the draft, I have come to understand that every challenge we face holds a valuable lesson.
The villagers listened intently, their hearts stirring as they recognized the truth in John's words. May, a young woman who had lost her brother in the war, spoke up.
Old Man Lee, your wisdom has comforted us all. But how can we find the strength to carry on when our hearts are so heavy?
Old Man Lee smiled gently at May.
My dear child, you have already shown great resilience in the face of such loss. The strength lies within each of us, waiting to be discovered. When we choose to see the silver lining in every situation, we find the power to overcome even the most difficult challenges.
As the gathering continued, other villagers shared their stories of loss and perseverance, finding solace in each other's experiences. The words of Old Man Lee and Jen resonated with each of them, sparking a newfound sense of hope and determination. In the days that followed, the villagers began to put Old Man Lee's teachings into practice. They banded together, helping one another in the fields and offering support to those who needed it most. As their collective resilience grew, so too did their sense of community and unity. John marveled at the transformation, realizing the profound impact his father's wisdom had on their village. He felt a deep sense of gratitude and pride, knowing that the lessons he had learned from Old Man Lee would stay with him for a lifetime. Chapter 7: Embracing Uncertainty. As the seasons changed and life in the village carried on, the people continued to face new challenges and uncertainties. But instead of succumbing to fear and despair, they embraced Old Man Lee's teachings, approaching each situation with open minds and positive attitudes. One day, while Jen and his friend Joe were tending to the fields, a sudden storm rolled in, threatening their crops. Xiao looked up at the darkening sky, worry evident in his eyes.
John, what if the storm destroys our harvest? Our families depend on these crops.
John, recalling his father's wisdom, smiled reassuringly.
Xiao, do not worry. All is well. Who knows if it is good or bad? Perhaps the rain will bring much-needed nourishment to our fields, and the crops will grow even stronger.
Xiao, inspired by Jen's words, nodded in agreement.
You're right, John. We must remain positive and embrace the uncertainty.
In the days that followed, the villagers witnessed the truth in Jen's words. The storm had indeed brought much-needed rain, and the crops flourished as a result. The people rejoiced, grateful for the silver lining they had found in a seemingly negative situation. With each passing day, the villagers' resilience and optimism grew stronger. They learned to rely on one another, sharing their struggles and successes, and supporting each other through the twists and turns of life. Old Man Lee watched the transformation of his village with pride and contentment. He knew that his teachings had taken root and that the people, he loved would continue to find serenity in the silver linings of life's uncertainties. One evening, as the sun set over the lush fields and the villagers gathered to share a meal, Old Man Lee stood to address them.
My dear friends, I am humbled by the strength and unity you have shown in the face of adversity. Remember to always cherish the silver linings and embrace the uncertainty that life brings. In doing so, you will find peace and happiness.
The villagers listened intently, their hearts full of gratitude for the wise old man who had guided them through life's storms. As they looked around at their thriving village, they knew that the serenity of the silver lining would forever be a guiding light in their lives.